is Brian Voss.
Shooting first. 9 titles. Leaving a 4-pin on that high hit.
Yeah, I think Westlake opening
Voss
strike.
obviously knows he has to roll a very big game, Chris, so wants to strike on every shot. We saw the first match, 8 strikes by both players, so nobody's missed the pocket today. It's just a carrying contest, and these players will shoot the big numbers. Voss off to a slow start with a spare.
Brian Voss, like Tony Westlake, in the 5th television appearance of the year. The only one with more is Amleto Monicelli with 7. But Voss in his 37th television appearance, Westlake his 18th. Seven, 10.
7-10 split. Brian Voss, a little extra speed on the left-hand lane, and really gets a bad break. Shakes the head pin around and doesn't leave any of the center pins. Needs to take the 10 pin, bounce it out into the 7. Tough shot.
All right, so a tough break for Brian Voss. Tony Westlake, who defeated Pete Weber in our first game. So it's 10-10 for the Oklahoman.
Westlake, every ball in the pocket so far, 268 in the first game. Once again, his mind almost has to be thinking 300 when you're loose like that. Leaves a solid 10 on the first shot.
Westlake, one of the terrific young competitors on the tour, and so is the man that didn't win the first game.
Pete Weber, interesting ruling in the first game. A solid 9-pin you left in the 8th frame after asking for a couple of re-racks. What happened down there?
Well, Bill, I threw my shot on 34 and I tripped 4-9, and I was a little delayed on the approach. But as soon as I walked off the approach, I asked for a re-rack, and he said I was too late, and I didn't like the ruling, but it's something I'll deal with, and I'm pretty happy with the way things turned out anyway.
Well, you can't be too happy, Pete. The solid 9 cost you the match.
Well, and then, you know, I got a bad break. What can I say? But next week, me and Voss are...
You're the real champion. See you next week. Good luck. As Westlake has left the 7-pin in the 3rd frame.
I just wish, Bo, that I could control my bowling shot as well as he controlled how he really feels.
Well, that's true. You can go all the way, win the tournament. One shot like that can have a major effect on a whole year. You never know what's going to happen once you get by that first victory. Now, here's Voss trailing by 12 pins, 3rd frame.
Nearly had a 4-6-7-10. Averted that. Boy, things are just not thus far going that well for Voss, but remember, it is marked as a strike.
Pins coming out of the roof here. The 2-pin goes to sideboard, trips out to 4 and 7. You 3 pins to the right sideboard, taking out the 6 and 10. Voss gets a great break after a horrible break in the 2nd frame. A double here would cut Westlake's lead to 2 pins.
A little crossover strike, and of course Brian will take it. He now only trails by 2 pins over Tony Westlake. This is our 2nd match. More later.
Their luck in Las Vegas. It's the Showboat PBA Doubles Classic on ABC's Pro Bowler Spring Tour next Saturday.
Next Saturday, Las Vegas, right here in Portland, Oregon. Here's Tony Westlake. He is shooting in the 4th frame, spare working. And that's one he really wanted. Let's go to Nelson Burton.
Thank you, Chris. Mark Baker in the semifinal match. Mark, any particular game plan? You need a win. It's been a few years since you've won a tournament. You'll have a tough opponent.
Taking a new approach today. I don't like the Detroit Pistons, but they win. Today, I don't care how I get it done. I just want to win.
Well, very simple. Mark Baker is going to be very tough in the semifinal. Back to you, Chris.
All right. the big double, increasing his lead now to 12 pins. And Mark Baker, who played high school and some junior college basketball, is in a hotbed of basketball right now with the Trailblazers leading the Phoenix Suns 2-1. They play in Phoenix again tomorrow, and then Tuesday night back here. They love their basketball and bowling in Oregon. Big strike for Brian Voss, giving him 3 in a row. And again, cutting Westlake's lead to only 2. Brian Voss earlier answered this question. What's on the horizon for you during the next 5 years?
Well, I'd like to bowl about 5 more full-time years, about 30 events a year, and hopefully win a few majors and make the Hall of Fame. And then I'm going to cut back to about a touring 2. You know, hopefully I'll have a family by then and be able to spend more time at home. Touring 2 is basically, you know, half the tournaments. So right around 16 to 20 tournaments a year.
And the 1988 PBA National Champion has left the 2-pin on the left lane. He was named Bowler of the Year that year, set a earnings record of $225,000, broken the next year by Mike Albee.
Voss leading the 2 pins, struggling on the left-hand lane. Up there quickly, will be trailing by just a few pins after this spin.
All Army as a bowler, said the best thing he had done was join the Army 12 years ago. He had tried junior college at Mesa Junior College, but the 4 years he spent in the service matured him and made him the great champion that he is here on the tour. Now Westlake, double working. Leading by 13 now, our second game.
Westlake, who's just been around the pocket all day long, 268 the first game, then he starts strike 10-pin, 7-pin, has strung together 3 strikes in a row again here in game number 2. Is just zeroed in on the pocket. His opponent, Voss, who had a slight lead there in the 5th frame, relinquished it on that particular shot, is struggling. He can put Voss on the ropes early here in the 7th frame.
Westlake, who won the first game 268 to Pete Weber's 248, now leads by 23 in our second match of the afternoon.
Pro Service dealer. The Harlem Globetrotters take their basketball wizardry to the sands of the Caribbean. Plus the mini marathon from New York City. It's all next on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
And there she is, the bride, Brian's bride, Andrea. In our second match, Brian Voss, his first game, going against Tony Westlake, a stir-up shooting in the 7th frame. Okay, like all professional bowlers, Brian Voss is a race fan. So are we, and why not? Welcome everybody to the capital city of Indiana tomorrow for our live coverage of the 74th Indianapolis 500. Emerson Fittipaldi trying to make it 2 in a row. He's sitting on the pole. What an event, though, that will be.
Has a chance to make it 2 in a row, almost $6 million prize fund. As you see, the full grip of Voss. A big strike right here.
Coming up high, leading 3-6-9-10. Coverage of the Indy 500 live begins at 11 Eastern.
Voss, the extreme outside line, just points the ball a little bit too much up towards the 1-3 pocket and leaves a very difficult 3-6-9-10 spare. He's in big trouble.
Not in the money department. Broke the record in '88 with $225,000. Last year, $135,000, and already this year, 4th on the list at $102,145. Westlake showing his consistency, putting together 5 and putting up a 33-pin lead. Next week, PBA doubles at the Showboat in Las Vegas.
Some very tough teams, all being Cook defending champions. You got Weber and Voss as partners. Westlake and Ferraro, another team to contend with. And then the following week, we'll have the seniors tournament, June 9th. Dick Weber, Earl Anthony, all the solid old players.
Westlake with 9 strikes in his 268 game in the first. Now has put together 6 and getting near the end. Here's Voss, fair up shooting in the 9th. Remember last week, Brian finished second to Chris Warren. Brown this year was third at the U.S. Open. He won the Bud Classic at Sunrise, Florida, 5th at Pinole, and 4th at the ABC Masters.
Voss, the best he can roll is 206. Kind of the main story right now is Tony Westlake, 268, the first game, a possible 269. His second game, the record for 4 games in a championship round, 1050, 1,050. He has a shot at that if he can win his next game.
3 in a row now for Brian Voss. So when you consider the ABC Masters, he has made 3 telecasts in a row.
Just didn't have the right shot on the left-hand lane, Chris. 225. Once again, Westlake, a possible 269. That would be the best start we've had in 2 consecutive games in 6 years.
So there is the runner-up handshake here in this game. Tony Westlake. Voss congratulating Tony. And Tony will finish out the frame and the game. And then we'll meet Mark Baker. Okay.
Awesome.
Coming up, Nelson's Burton tip of the week. And it's a great